She had $5 to her name, no job, no phone, no one waiting for her at home, and a child, sound asleep in a shelter crib 2 blocks away. She sat motionless for over an hour, not because she was waiting for something, but because she had nothing left to move for. What led her here wasn't a single mistake, but a long chain of quiet moments. Small, unremarkable decisions made in silence, the kind you don't notice until they've already taken everything. Just months before this night, Neha had a home, a job, a plan. She smiled in photos, laughed at her son's cartoons. She went to work, paid bills, made dinner. Nothing out of the ordinary. But it was never just about the bills, or the job, or even the man she married. There was something else happening, something she couldn't explain. Not to her family, not to her friends, not even to herself. The kind of unraveling that doesn't begin with a loud crash, but a whisper in the back of the mind. A whisper that says, "You're not enough." She stopped applying for jobs. She stopped answering calls. And then she stopped looking in mirrors. Because over time, she stopped recognizing the person looking back. No one knew how bad it had gotten, not even her. Because rock bottom is rarely a moment, it's a place. And the worst part is, you don't always realize you've arrived. But what if I told you that this moment, this cold, forgotten hour on a street corner, wasn't the end of her story? What if it was the beginning of something no one saw coming, not even her? This is not just a story about survival. It's about awakening and what it really means to believe in yourself when no one else does. You're watching Suvichar, an amazing motivational story, and it begins right here. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like the more you try to fix your life, the more it unravels? Like you're standing in a storm that no one else sees, and all you can do is survive it in silence. If that feels familiar, even in the smallest way, then this story is for you, for the quiet fighters, for the ones who keep showing up even when no one's watching. If this already hits home, hit that like button, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear this, because how this ends will stay with you. Neha's story didn't begin in the dark. It began like most stories do, with light, with a promise, with hope. A stable job as a primary school teacher, a husband with big plans, a baby on the way, a one-bedroom apartment with chipped tiles, hand-me-down furniture, and a window that looked out over the city skyline. She had everything she thought she needed, until small things began to shift, quiet things, things that didn't seem worth mentioning. It started with her husband working late, then forgetting her birthday, then spending weekends away from meetings that never had names. When Neha brought it up, his answer was always the same. You're imagining things, or you worry too much, or sometimes just silence. She began to question herself, wondering if maybe she was being paranoid, maybe she was too sensitive. The mind plays tricks after all, especially when no one's around to tell you otherwise. She stopped calling her friends, she stopped taking photos. One day, she deleted her social media without a word. No one noticed. And maybe that's when she started to disappear, long before the night she ended up on that sidewalk. There's a kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, the kind that lives behind the eyes. That was Neha by then, awake, but gone. She'd stopped dreaming, stopped hoping. Life became survival, until even that became optional. One night, while putting her son to bed, she heard a knock. No one was at the door. It happened again the next night, and again the night after that. Always after 2 a.m., always 3 knocks. She never opened it, she just stared, and after a while, she stopped mentioning it at all. She didn't tell anyone because she didn't know how. How do you explain to someone that it feels like your life is quietly turning against you? That the lights flicker more when you cry? That mirrors seem to fog even when there's no steam? That some nights, you swear you can hear your own name from the other room? The hardest part was that no one else noticed, or maybe they didn't want to. October 7th, it had rained all day. Neha left home without locking the door, not because she forgot, but because she didn't think she'd be coming back. The paper in her hand, folded 8 times, written 3 days ago. A letter she rewrote over and over until the words stopped sounding like hers and started sounding like a goodbye. She had nothing left to sell. Her electricity was cut off. The landlord had taped another eviction notice to the door. Ravi hadn't come home in weeks. And Arav, he lay in bed, coughing in his sleep. No school, no medicine, just hunger and the sound of rain leaking through the ceiling. There was a moment, standing there on that edge, where everything in her life compressed into a single thought. Maybe, if I just let go, everything would stop hurting. Neha stared at it like it had just been written, not painted, not sprayed, spoken. It wasn't elegant, but it landed like truth. A sentence that didn't offer answers, only a reason not to ask the wrong question. You're not weak, you're just not done yet. She didn't ask for her name, didn't ask questions, just offered food and presence. Neha didn't speak, she didn't cry, she just sat. For the first time in days, someone saw her and didn't look away. They didn't talk again. When the rain let up, the old woman smiled, nodded once, and disappeared into the night. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat on the floor beside Arav, watching him breathe. And as the sky began to lighten, she picked up her old diary and wrote, "I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but I know I'm still here, and that has to count for something." She started journaling again, not to escape, but to map the pain, to give the darkness shape, because once it had shape, she could move around it. She began to see her thoughts like loops, patterns, the same fears, the same doubts, repeating in new disguises. But once she saw them, she could write her way through them. She wasn't healed, not yet, but she was waking up, and she was no longer standing on the edge. It was in her lowest moment that she realized her story wasn't over. It was just chapter 1. For years, Neha had been reacting to life, caught in wave after wave of helplessness. But now, something had shifted, and it began with a single sentence: "Today, I will not disappear." Every morning, she wrote down the fears clawing at her spine. Every night, she challenged them, and slowly they weakened. It wasn't magic, it was muscle, a discipline. The act of seeing her pain in ink made it smaller, manageable, real, no longer a shapeless fog. She didn't invent wisdom, but she learned to borrow it. One powerful thought at a time, each Suvichar became a match in the dark. They weren't just words, they were rewrites of how she saw herself, of what she believed she deserved. It got 2 likes, then none for 3 days, but she kept posting, 1 quote a day, then a short caption, then a video, trembling in her hand. No hashtags, no branding, just truth from one unseen woman to others like her. She didn't go viral, but she got seen, and for someone like Neha, that was a revolution. If you're watching this thinking, "I can't do that," you can. The secret isn't scale, it's direction. Start with one habit, one thought worth repeating, one action a day that honors the version of you who still believes in something better. Journaling won't erase the past, but it gives you language. Suvichar won't fix your life, but it'll fix your lens. And small actions, they build bridges you won't even realize you crossed until you look back. The world didn't change, she did. And because she changed, everything else started to. A letter arrives in her mailbox. No stamp, no name. Inside, a torn-out journal page from her own diary, one she threw away months ago. A message on her social post: "You weren't supposed to leave. Come back before it's too late." Her old apartment, vacant now, has new tenants. But she keeps seeing the curtains move, even when the lights are off. As her light grew, something began to stir in the shadows she'd once escaped. Neha had rebuilt herself from the inside out. But the past, it doesn't always stay buried. And some stories, especially the unfinished ones, have a way of finding you again. I wasn't lucky. I was ready. I didn't wait for the world to change. I changed. I didn't wait to be saved. I saved myself. And the moment I believed in myself, the world did too. Neha wasn't a hero. Not at first. She was broken, terrified, exhausted. And yet, here she stands. If Neha can rise from nothing, from fear, from emptiness, from the shadow of her own past, then why not you? If she can climb out of the quiet where no one heard her cry, maybe you can too. What about you? What's your Suvichar? What's the belief you'll carry into tomorrow? What's the sentence you'll write when the darkness comes knocking? Because it will, and when it does, you'll need something to hold on to. So here's what I want you to do. Comment below with one belief you choose to carry. Just one. I'll be reading every single one. If this story moves something inside you, like, share, and subscribe. Maybe your click is the one that delivers this to someone at the edge of their hope. This is more than her story. It's a mirror. What will you write? Believe in yourself. even when no one else does. Because your comeback starts the moment you decide not to give up. It begins with a broken chapter, a moment when everything seems lost. But every great story is not about the darkness it contains, but how it is overcome. Strength is born from struggle. Hope is the light we carry through the night. You are not alone. Your story is waiting, and it's worth telling.